Okay, Canjo. Canjo kit, step one. We've got our hardwood stick. Pretty sure this is poplar. Yeah, it almost certainly is poplar. And it's pretty well finished, but there could be some fuzzy spots on yours, so I gave you a piece of sandpaper. I gave you some rubber gloves. So just go around, just use your fingertips to feel for any fuzzy spots. You can just fold this in half and just give it a little sand. Make sure all the edges feel comfortable and stuff. And also in between coats, you might want to give just a light sanding with this. This is 220 grit, so you don't have to go crazy with it. But just if you feel any rough spots or fuzzy spots, then go ahead. And then I gave you, this is a wipe on poly, so I gave you just a little bit. Believe it or not, that is plenty. And the first coat will take a lot more because it'll soak into the wood and seal the pores. And I'm making a mess. So you might want to put down some newspaper or something. And of course, this is really tough to do one-handed, and that was way too much. So this is just paper toweling. So any paper toweling you have in the kitchen or in the shop. And it's really a challenge to do this one-handed for sure. But what you do is just wipe it on all sides, and then let it soak in for 5 to 10 minutes. And then the most important step with finishing oil is to make sure you wipe it dry. You don't want to leave it. I know it's a big temptation. You want it to be shiny and all that, but really, really, really critical that you wipe it dry. It'll start to get shinier later, especially if you do like 3 coats. And you especially want to wipe any of the wipe on poly. You want to clean off these metal. The metal wires are called frets, and you don't want any of that wipe on poly on there, because otherwise it will, after it dries, it will flake off. It'll kind of like scab off, and it'll just kind of look cruddy. So that's all there is to it. It's a wipe on, wipe off kind of deal. Let it soak in for about 10 minutes, and then just take a dry paper towel and just give the whole thing a good wipe down. And then you could let that dry for 4 hours or overnight even, and then put a second coat and a third coat. If your house is warm and dry, now if you're doing this in the garage, I would let it dry overnight, because if it's cold in your garage, which it most certainly is, yeah, you'll need to let it dry overnight. If it's indoors, like in a basement, or if you happen to have a heated workshop, then this stuff will dry in like 4 hours. But more than likely, you're going to be doing it in more of an outside space. It does have a bit of an odor, so I don't think you're going to want it in the house. So step one, don't forget to wipe it dry. That's the most important step.